Hello everyone, welcome to my channel on understanding finance and sports. My name is Faisal Hasnain, and today we're going to talk about financial planning for athletes. So let's start with a bit of background. Now, all professional athletes make a reasonable amount of money, and very successful professional athletes make lots of money. Many top athletes will make in a single year or in a few years that which a normal working person may not make in a lifetime. This can also give the athlete a false sense of security that his large money supply will never run out. Athletes are also normally young, inexperienced about the trials and tribulations of life, and are not financially savvy. Now, they also have relatively short careers compared to other professions, unless of course one plays sports such as golf or chess, which you can play into your 60s and maybe even your 70s. And often young athletes don't realize the importance of financial planning. Important especially in light of their relatively short careers. This is also because they suddenly earn so much money that they think that this supply of money is endless and it will never end. They often spend money like water on things that they really don't need. They don't realize that their high short career earnings need to stretch out for the rest of their life. And there are many stories of athletes going bankrupt despite earning hundreds of millions of dollars during their playing careers. Examples are Mike Tyson, Scottie Pippen, and Evander Holyfield, and there are hundreds. Over 70% of NFL players are under financial stress 2 years after retiring, and over 60% are bankrupt 5 years after leaving the sport. That is a staggering statistic, and it's sad. Now, if the athlete retires at 35, and I'm stretching this, then the money he has made has to support him for the next, say, 50 years. But they don't realize this until it's too late. The problem is that with lots of money pouring in, there is more and more of enjoying life, spending, and less of discipline, financial discipline or discipline in general. And this is a common problem. It's human nature. Now let's look at a table of the earnings of an athlete versus an average worker. This is just a simple example to set the scene. So you've got an ordinary worker. Up to the age of 22, he doesn't earn anything. He's studying. Between the ages of 23 and 25, he earns $150,000 for 3 years. So he's on $50,000 a year. From the age of 26 to 30, next 5 years, he earns $375,000. His salary goes up, he becomes more senior. Then after that, from the ages of 31 to 35, he earns $500,000. From 36 to 40 years old, he earns $600,000. And between the ages of 41 and 50, he earns $1.5 million. So now he's reached $150,000 per year. And from the age of 51 to 60, he earns $2 million. For 10 years, that's $200,000 per year. So it's a fairly, I guess, typical steady increase of someone who's had a reasonably successful corporate career. At 60, he retires, and after the age of 60, he earns nothing because he's retired. So that shows you his earnings over his lifetime. Total gross earnings over his life, $5.125 million. And let's say he pays taxes on average 25% because over his career. So his cash after taxes is $3.8 million over his life. And if I then compute that per month, for 37 years, he earned an average of $8,600 a month over his entire life. And it's been a steady increase, fairly steady. Yep. Okay, now let's put that alongside a hypothetical example of what a successful athlete may earn. So, up to the age of 22, the athlete will also earn nothing. He's studying. From the age of 23 to 25, let's say he earns $1 million. Let's say he's snapped up by a top team, Chicago Bulls or something of that nature, Barcelona Football Club. From the age of 26 to 30, his value goes up 3 times because he's been scoring goals. He's been putting in great performances. So for the next 4 years, he earns $3.5 million. Between the ages of 31 to 35, he then earns $1 million because, he's now getting older. He's not scoring as many goals. He's not playing in all the matches. He gets injured. And then from the age of 36 to 40, let's say he earns $600,000. Now, at this time, let's say he's retired at the age of 40, and I'm stretching that. So from the ages of 41 to 50 and 51 to 60 and then 60 plus, he's going to earn nothing because he's not playing. He's retired. So his total gross earnings over that time are $6.1 million. Let's say he pays taxes at 37%. He's paying taxes at a higher rate than the ordinary worker because his income was much higher and therefore he was in a higher tax bracket at the time he was playing. So let's say he's paying 37% tax, which is, I've read, representative of the tax rate for athletes. So he ends up with cash after taxes of $3.8 million, and his average per month over his lifetime is $8,600 a month, the same as the ordinary worker. And I've made this similar for a reason. The reason is that if you see this disparity here, what's happening is that while the ordinary worker earned $150,000 between the ages of 23 and 25, the athlete earned $1 million. And from the age of 26 to 30s, whereas this guy earned $375,000, the athlete earned $3.5 million. Now what happens? At this stage, the athlete has got so much money, he's going to spend it. The ordinary worker doesn't have that amount of money to spend. His money is going to come in the future. His future earnings are not there for him to spend today. He can only spend it when he gets it in the future. Unfortunately, the athlete is getting all his money up front while he's playing. And so he has so much money at that time. So the tendency is to spend. This example ignores investment income, and it also shows you that without proper planning, there is a high chance that later in life, the athlete will be worse off than the average worker, even though they've earned exactly the same amount of money take home in cash over their lifetime. This is because the athlete will have built up a high and lavish lifestyle during his playing career. So at this time, between the ages of 26 and 40, the athlete would have built up a lifestyle which he might find it difficult to support when he's earning nothing later on. Okay, let's move forward. Why do athletes go bankrupt? Helping family and friends and hangers-on. This is very common. You want to help people. You are earning a lot of money. There are people in need, your relatives, your close friends, your family. They ask you for help because they know you're making $1 million a year or $2 million a year. And you give in to the good side of your nature. It's a good thing to do. Helping people is a great thing to do. But at what cost? So one of the reasons why money also goes out is of your because of your wish to be good and to help people. But that may not help you in the long run. I'm talking purely financially now. Buying too many unnecessary things, clothes, watches, jewelry. It's a temptation. You go into a store, you see a nice watch, you love the design, you buy it, even though you've got 5 watches at home. An ordinary worker will not do that because he won't be able to afford that watch. Lavish lifestyle, unnecessary expensive holidays and parties. Purchasing many houses and mansions. Purchasing many expensive cars, yachts and planes. All of these are self-explanatory, and we've seen athletes who are doing this. Not paying taxes when they are due. This is very important. There are athletes who have not paid taxes which they are supposed to be paying at the time, and then they get hit by a huge tax bill later in life. And there are all sorts of penalties attached to that. So it's very, very important that you need to pay your taxes on time so that after taxes you know exactly how much money you have to spend. Then there are expensive alimony payments and child support obligations. If an ordinary worker gets divorced, it will be a normal settlement between him and his spouse. If a rich, successful athlete gets divorced, the amount that he may have to pay in alimony and child support would be huge. Large entourage and staff. This again can cost a lot of money. People like to move around with their friends, with their hangers on, with a large entourage. They take holidays with these people. I heard of an athlete, I read about it, who kept one person as part of his entourage just because he found the guy funny. And he kept him on for almost 20 years. It's crazy, but that's the kind of thing that happens when you have a lot of money. There are a lot of people around you, and you may like some people, but to have someone with you on your payroll for 20 years just because he's funny? Bad advisors, very important. When you've got money, there are always people floating around you trying to advise you what to do with that money. And a lot of them don't know what they're talking about. Bad business investments. This again, you invest in things which, go bankrupt. You lose all your money. Bad financial investments, same thing. Keeping bad company and developing bad habits such as alcohol and drugs. It can lead to ruination. You can end up making such stupid decisions when you're under the influence and when you have bad company around you. So some thoughts for consideration. It's important for an athlete to think about their financial future. Just like you have a coach and a trainer for on the field, an athlete needs advisors off the field. We've talked about the fact that their careers will last for say 15 years, from the age of 20 to the age of 35. So it's a short career. And for various reasons, they may decide to retire before the age of 35. Or their career may be cut short by some kind of an injury. So they need to plan and protect their financial futures at an early age. Now, some young athletes are managed both financially and otherwise by their parents or by their relatives. And this is fine. In fact, this may actually even be a very, very good thing, as long as the parent or the relative knows what they are doing. It's not easy being a financial advisor and making right decisions. But if it's not a parent or a relative, then the athlete must appoint a financial advisor. Now, let's talk about appointing a financial advisor. An athlete is not financial savvy and doesn't have the time to look after his finances. He is playing the sport as well as training and traveling week in and week out. A professional athlete must appoint a reliable and trustworthy financial advisor. Reliable and trustworthy. Very, very important. Someone who has the best interest of the athlete at heart. This is very important. There are many stories about financial advisors acting in their own best interest and the athletes ending up financially broke. This has happened, and there are many, many stories out there. And therefore, it is extremely important for the athlete to do his own proper financial due diligence and investigation about the financial advisor before he officially appoints someone. Very important. You must have the right person. And it's also extremely important that the financial advisor must only advise the athlete about what to do with his money. He must have no other roles, such as advising the athlete on his playing contracts and his commercial brand exposures and endorsement deals. That should be left to someone else, such as the athlete's agent. So the financial advisor must concentrate on the athlete's finances, not his revenue. Very important. It is the agent's job to advise the athlete on how to make money and maximize earnings. And it is the job of his financial advisor to manage and protect that cash and make sure that the athlete and his family are well taken care of financially after the athlete retires. Obviously, the financial advisor will charge for his services, and there are several ways to structure this properly, but in the end, it's worth the cost that may be involved. Now let's talk about the role of a financial advisor. He advises the athlete on his finances and plans the future of his family and his dependents. We've talked about separating the role of the financial advisor from the athlete's agent. They must not be the same people. There are conflicts of interest if the same two roles are, or those two roles are done by the same person. Protect and manage the athlete's finances. Very important. He should look at tax planning. For example, taxes can reduce the take-home cash by over 40%. So when you sign a $100 million contract, that contract is really 60 million or even less after paying taxes. So how do you plan to minimize your taxes legitimately? There are ways, and a good financial advisor will advise the athlete on tax minimization. Not avoidance. Must never ever avoid taxes. You must try and legitimately minimize your taxes. Tax planning for retirement. Tax efficient investment opportunities. When you invest money, you have to look at the tax angle on how much it's going to cost you in taxes and what are the potential tax liabilities. It's also the role of a financial advisor to make sure that the athlete makes a reasonable return on the funds invested. A reasonable return. There are many cowboys out there who will try to sell you products telling you that you're going to be phenomenally rich in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. One must never fall for those scams. Those are scams. They carry high risk. A good financial advisor will also advise the athlete on his expenditures. He will prepare a budget for the athlete, that this is the amount of money you have to spend. The rest is going to go away to secure your financial future. The financial advisor will think long term and plan for the long term. In effect, he's planning for financial freedom after the playing days are over. Financial freedom means you don't have to work if you don't want to. The planning should be done as if every contract that athlete signs is his last contract. You have to plan for the fact that tomorrow you may get injured and not be able to play again. So think as if that's the last contract you're signing, or the fact that that contract may not be renewed. And then you have to have a proper financial infrastructure in place that includes setting up trust structures, proper insurances, and wills in place. So the role of the financial advisor: protect the athlete financially. He has to financially protect the athlete. That is so important. That's the crux of the matter. So just a little diagram to show you how the financial advisor operates. So you've got the athlete who earns money from, let's say, his club. He gets a salary, and from sponsorship and endorsement deals. Those funds are then managed by the financial advisor, who will then invest money in financial products. Other investments could be real estate, bank accounts and brokerage accounts, insurances, wills and trusts, etc. So the financial advisor will actually make his money from two sources. He'll probably make his money by charging the athlete a fee, and he will also make money from the institutions where he places the money from. So for example, he'll go to a bank and say, look, if I get someone to open an account with you and deposit, let's say $2 million into your account, what sort of commissions will you give me for referring that business to you? So he'll make money from the institutions, as well as he may charge the athlete a fee for managing his finances. And a financial advisor will normally have a number of institutions on his books. Let's move on. Now, what kind of arrangements should the athlete have with his financial advisor? There must be a written contract, annual or for 2 years, and that contract must be reviewed by the athlete's lawyer. Important. You must know what that contract contains, be happy with it before signing it. And one of the things that you have to ensure is that you can get out of that contract if you don't like what's going on. Very important. The exit clauses are very important. Actually, that goes for everything. Any contract that you're signing, just check, how do I get out of it? And if I get out of it, what is it going to cost me? And my recommendation is that the initial contract should not be for more than 1 year. That's enough time for you and the financial advisor to get to know each other and see whether it's working out or not, whether you're happy with each other. I've mentioned that the financial advisor will normally make money from both sides, from the athlete as well as the institution, where he places the athlete's money. Now, it is possible to negotiate so that the financial advisor does not charge the athlete a fee. The athlete can try and negotiate and say that, look, you're making money from the banks, the institutions, so you don't need to charge me a fee. The athlete must never give control to the financial advisor. Never give control. And you need to understand what he is doing. What is your financial advisor doing? You need to understand exactly what you've hired him for, and is he doing his job? If the athlete doesn't have time, then the financial advisor should deal with someone who the athlete implicitly trusts, like his mom or dad. But one should always retain the signing authority and understand what one is signing. Never ever be pressurized into signing anything for any reason. If someone rushes into you and says, I need your signature on this document, otherwise this opportunity will go away. I need you to sign this immediately, otherwise you'll miss out on this opportunity, then tell him, I don't care, I will miss out on that opportunity. Never sign any document until and unless you understand what you're doing. And if your financial advisor or anyone else for that matter rushes in and tells you to sign this thing immediately, he should have come before. He should have come. If he was doing his job properly, he'd let you have those details a week, 10 days, a month in advance, explain to you exactly what is going on, taken you through the contract, and then advise you that, well, I think you should sign. So never ever be pressured into signing anything that you don't understand. Excuse me. Almost knocked over my my microphone. I guess I got very worked up about that one. But you understood, okay? Now, coming to the end, I think this is the last slide. A general plan for the athlete's life after his playing days. Let's say after the age of 35. So the athlete should plan for 2 retirements. Unlike a normal ordinary working person, an athlete has 2 retirements. He should plan for 2 retirements anyway. The first one is after his playing days are over. Let's say he retires at the age of 35. That's his first retirement. Because he's still young, he's still got 25 years to go before his second retirement. One is to plan for life after normal retirement age at the age of 60. So you have your playing career, you then retire, and you have retirement age or retirement period 1 from 35 to 60, and then you have retirement period 2, 60 plus. Decide what one wants to do after the playing days. So after the age of 35, once you retire, once you can't play anymore, you don't want to play anymore, maybe you're injured, maybe you're fed up of that kind of life, traveling, etc. You've retired. What are you going to do after that? Maybe you want to invest in a business that you do know something about, like running a sports academy or a gymnasium. Maybe the athlete can get into media, become a journalist, a commentator, and provide expert analysis on talk shows, on sports talk shows. You may want to get into coaching, professional teams, universities, and even schools. Maybe become a team manager. Train to become a sports administrator and be part of the sports team administration. Here you're talking about sports teams that have, for example, a chief executive, a chief operating officer, a head of sport, etc. So one can actually, plan to do that. And in order to do that, you may have to pass certain courses. So one needs to find out about what courses one needs to pass to get qualified to become either a teacher or an administrator. So plan, plan, plan. Plan for your retirement, plan for your future finances, plan for the future of your family and your dependents. Plan, plan, plan. You've got a short career during which time you're going to make a lot of money. That money has to last you for the next 50 years. So you need to invest that money in such a way that it keeps on bringing you income for the rest of your life, and hopefully protecting the capital so that your capital doesn't get eroded. Okay? So thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this show, and I hope to see all of you again very soon. In the meanwhile, this is Faisal signing out.